What's up, podcaster? Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you're not sure what content to put out? You know that you've got an episode that needs to be published soon, and you're just kind of racking your brain to figure out what to publish, what content to produce. That's actually where I was today. And I'm going to tell you a couple of tips, tricks, and strategies in order for you to be able to always have the content ready and available, something that can support you to making sure that you don't go without producing content.
Most hosts never achieve the results they hoped for. They're falling short on listenership and monetization, meaning their message isn't being heard and their show ends up costing them money. This podcast was created to help you grow your listenership and make money while you're at it. Get ready to take notes. Here's your host, Adam Adams.
One idea that's working for me and my team is I had them look at all of the other podcasts in my field, all of the other podcasts in my space. And you can do the same. So I had my virtual assistants go in and look at all of the podcasts that are out there. Look at YouTube videos, find out which ones are popular, which titles are popular, which type of content is getting a lot of downloads, a lot of views, a lot of plays. And they think, and then I went through that list and double checked them, took a couple of them out, moved a couple of them to the top as a priority. Like this would be a great one to start with. And then they created from white labeling and black labeling, blacklisting things, getting rid of some that they liked, but I didn't, or moving to the top or to the end, other options. We created an entire list of literally more than 100 different topic ideas, and they put it into a Google Drive, a Google folder for me, because I don't like to do anything or touch anything or know where anything goes for some reason. So I'll just say this person on my team, her name's Jen. She handles my podcast and she handles a lot of other clients' podcasts. And so I'll just say, Jen, do you need any episodes? And every now and again, she'll say, yep, got a couple of episodes right now, but in 2 weeks, you're going to need some. And so I want to record them early. So I'll just say, Jen, just send me that list of ideas that have been proven of other people's ideas, other people's topics. And no, we're not going to plagiarize, obviously, but we look at that content and we put our own spin on it. So that's number one. Number one is you can do your research, you do your due diligence, go in and check out. What do they call that in the military? I'm going to do my reconnaissance, my recon. So we go and check out what's available, what's out there, and then we put it in a document where it's all in order. And for us, this is a document that's live all the time through Google Sheets. And when I finish one, I just go ahead and highlight it and delete it and get it out of the way. And then the others just move up. And if the next time that I want to do another episode, I'll look at it. And if the first one, I'm just not feeling it, the second one, I'm not feeling it, that's okay. I'll just go down the list until there's one that I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm passionate about that. Or you know what? Something came up. I've got a story about this today. And so I'll go ahead and do that one. And then I just delete it and move on. Another option, number two, is for you to go through your own content that you've already done. Now, me on this podcast, we've done well over 300 episodes. We might be approaching 400-ish when this comes out. I'm not sure 100%, but we've done at least 300 episodes, and about half of those are solo episodes with just me. And so I can go in and have my team pull out all of the even numbered episodes. I think those are the ones where I do solos, and look at the content of stuff we've already done. And then I'll look and see if I can get a different spin on it. Something that we had produced about microphones, about sound dampening equipment, about headphone use, microphone use, stuff about content, getting guests, about growing a show, growing a podcast. And then I figure out what have I done and what could I do again? And remember this when doing number two. When you're doing option number two on this list, you want to be thinking of that not every listener has listened to all of your podcast episodes. Now, first and foremost, hi, Mom. My mom actually does listen to all of my episodes. She's one of the few people that tell me that they listen to every single episode. Hi, Julie Holly, probably listening again. I've got a few people that tell me that they listen to each and every one. They've listened to 100 or more, 200 or more episodes, or some people have said, I've listened to almost all 300 and something of your episodes. So hi, Julie. Hi, Mom. At any rate, other than your mom, if she's supporting you as much as mine is, you don't really have very many people that listen to a ton of your episodes. They're probably going to listen to 5, 10, 15, 20, or 30 episodes for the most part, unless they're true fans, diehard fans like Julie and my mom, they're probably only going to listen to 5, 10, 15, 20, or 30 episodes before they have the content that they need. And they move on. They hire you. They look for additional content, whatever it is. They're ready to move on. So as we talk about number 2 being looking at your own content, here's the thing to remember. It is that you shouldn't say to yourself, I've already done content on that. You shouldn't say, we've already talked about that. And I'm going to use Dave Ramsey as an example, or we could also use Grant Cardone as an example, or we could also use Gary Vee as an example. So Dave Ramsey says the same 4 things, and that's it. He talks about how the paid off mortgage is replacing the BMW as a status symbol of wealth, the paid off mortgage. Always talks about that. Grant Cardone, always talking about 10x, 10x, 10x. Gary Vee, always talking about you got to be active on social media or you're going to lose in your business. And we keep hearing these things from them. And then now that we keep hearing the same message from these people, we start sharing that message. And now they become famous because I'm talking about all 3 of them, even when they're not in the room. And for you, there's a few things that you're going to draw your line in the sand on, where you're going to be passionate about that you really want to teach people and help people with. For me, you shouldn't be starting a podcast ready, fire, aim. You should start your podcast ready, aim, fire. I talk about that all the time. And that is a piece that I think is really important for you or your friend who's about to launch a podcast, to make sure that you prepared before you actually start, because of how detrimental it can be to launch a podcast without a plan. It can be horrible for you. It can be a waste of time and energy for you to do something like that. So just remember, you want to be sure that when you go to record, we're still talking about number 2, when you go to record, that you're going to feel like, man, I've already talked about that. And you got to just say, it's okay. I need to be like Dave Ramsey. I've got to be like Grant Cardone. I've got to be like Gary Vee. I've got to be like Adam Adams. I've got to have a few things that we talk about more than once, because that's what my avatar really, truly needs. And not every person listening has listened to all 300 of your episodes. Some of them, this is the first episode that they've ever listened. So reach down, pour into them from your heart and share with them those details that they need to know in order to take the next steps for them. Whatever the business that you're in. For me, it's podcasting. I'm going to give you whatever tips and tricks and strategies that I can, so you can leave this episode and have something tangible. And also, you know that you could work with my team to support you in launching a podcast, growing a podcast, or doing all of the back office, back end stuff for your show, so you can be the star and we handle all the hard stuff. I'm hoping that's making sense. Let's go to number 3. Number 3 is brainstorming. It's spending a little bit of time figuring out what are all of my options. So A, you look at what other people have done. B, you look at what you have done. And C, or 3, I should say, number 3 is you just spend the time thinking about your avatar, thinking about your niche, and come up with ideas like, what does John need? What does Sarah need? Let's just pretend your avatar is Sarah. This age with this many kids, this is her job. This is where she lives. This is what she's worried about. This is what she thinks about. This is what keeps Sarah up at night. And you start to just brainstorm. What does she need? What can help her? What's going to support her? What can help her to be able to hire me and go to the next level so that she can succeed in X, Y, and Z. So then you start thinking of all of these different categories, brainstorming, figuring out what could I talk about? And then you can even bubble them. Like as your brainstorming session, you can circle one thing where you might say, let's go to podcasting. Sarah needs to grow a podcast. Sarah needs podcast growth. And then you circle it. And then you spider web off from there all of the things that they could do, that Sarah could do in order to grow her podcast. So you could talk about organic marketing strategies. And so that's a bubble off to the side. And then you could talk about paid marketing strategies being another bubble. And then you could talk about getting on other people's podcasts. You could talk about whatever it is. And so you've got these 3 bubbles. And then when you stem off from those bubbles, you can put all of the different paid strategy options. So for example, you do Facebook ads, you could do Google ads, you could do YouTube ads, you could do a private message campaign, etc. So you jump in and then you start saying, you make one of your topics, one of your lessons about how do you do Facebook ads. And so you can go and research Facebook ads, and then you can give, the top 5 tips to running Facebook ads so that Sarah can do that on her own. And if you've got a service like I do, where we actually run Facebook ads for other people, then we can talk about that as well on the podcast, where it's kind of tricky in a way. It's kind of like subliminal messaging in a way, because you can say, these are the top 5 things that we do in order to run Facebook ads. And you can leave the podcast episode in an honest way, in an honest fashion, by saying to Sarah, your listener, you could say, these are the top 5 things you need to do if you're running your own Facebook ads. Also, if you don't want to learn that, you don't have to. My team runs the Facebook ads for you. And so if you're ready for paid advertising, you don't want to learn all of this stuff and do it on your own, you want to just offload it to a company that already knows what they're doing, great. Hire Grow Your Show at growyourshow.com. Push the button at the top right. It just says discovery call. You're talking to Sarah right now. You and I will get on a call, and I can show you how we can help you grow your podcast through paid advertising, so you don't have to do all the hard stuff. So you can teach Sarah the top 5 things if she's going to do it on her own. And then you can leave by saying, look, if you don't want to do it on your own, you don't have to. We got you. We can support you. And that can be a really helpful way for Sarah to do it on her own if she wants to, or if she's got the money, the financial thing, and lack of time, then she can go ahead and hire you to do the thing. So just remember, you want to brainstorm, spiderweb it out. You take the big topic and then you do subtopics, and then you do subtopics where you even do smaller topics off of those first spiderwebs. So you can go 3 or 4 levels deep. And as you go into those 3 or 4 levels deep, you can continue to ask yourself, have I done something on this? Do I know somebody who's done this? Do I have any stories to tell about how that can be valuable or helpful? Do I need to get a new spin? Have I learned something since before, etc.? There's a lot that you can do. So number 4 is going to be pretty straightforward and simple, although many of us don't think about it. Many of us don't consider it as a real viable option, but it's something that has really helped me in my podcast. And what that is that I ask my listener what they want to hear. So earlier, I mentioned that Julie listens to almost every episode. My mom listens to almost every episode. Nick, one of my clients, listens to almost every episode. And I've got a few others that are listening to a ton of episodes. And I can just go to Nick and go to Jane. I can go to my mom or Julie Holly, and I could say, hey, what do you want to learn? What am I lacking? What could support you in your journey? And so I could reach out to Sarah, for example, if we're using Sarah as our avatar right now. You could just call Sarah and say, Sarah, hey, because Sarah is a real person, by the way, your avatar is generally a real person. So number 4 is you reach out to Sarah, you reach out to Julie, Nick, or your mom, and you just say, hey, what content do you need? What are you struggling with right now? How can I help? And then they can give you an idea or 2 or 3. You can write them down, and then you can go out and create content that you know for a fact that your avatar wants to know, because you literally asked Sarah, you literally asked John, you literally asked Nick, you literally asked Julie, what are they struggling with? What do they need help with? What do they want to learn? What's keeping them up at night? So you're trying to figure it all out on your own. You can actually ask. So I hope these 4 things will help you in your podcasting journey. These 4 ways of coming up with new content, fresh ideas will support you in your podcast journey. Now, I will say that the source that we got this from, although the ideas are my own, the source mentioned a few times to don't be afraid to think outside the box. And I liked that. I think that's a good takeaway. As you're creating content through number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4 today in today's lesson, don't be afraid to get outside the box a little bit. Don't be afraid to make your own spin on something. Because when you do, you're going to have a unique thing to say. It's like drawing your line in the sand. It's a way for you to differentiate yourself from all of the other people that are all out there. If you're saying the exact same things that anyone can hear from anyone else, then there's really no reason for your avatar to follow you. So I loved that. I loved that takeaway about just like, don't be afraid to think outside the box as you do these things, as you create the content. Be you, be unique, and be able to support your listener in a new way, in a different way than they can get from the other podcast about your subject. I'll see you on the next episode. It's going to be an interview episode where I'm interviewing someone along their journey. They've probably been doing it for 2 years or so. And what that's going to help is for me to ask them, what are they doing that's working? What are they doing that's not working? So you be able to navigate your podcast journey. So I'll see you on the next episode. Oh, hey, because 3 of my clients came to me recently looking to find a way to have their podcast make them money instead of cost them money. We put together a resource for some of our clients, and I want to give it to you as well. It's something that did actually seem to help because one of them is now making $2,600 a month, another one's $4,500 a month, and the third is making between $5,000 and $10,000 each month. And so it's been a resource that's been incredibly valuable to them. It's our sponsor sheet template. It's a template of a sponsor sheet, and it gives you something that you can hand to potential sponsors and hopefully also be making $2,600, $4,500, or between $5,000 and $10,000 regularly each month with your podcast. So this has been a contributing factor to helping all 3 of those clients turn their podcast into an additional income stream for them. And the way that you can find it is just going to our website, growyourshow.com, but put in /templates, growyourshow.com/templates. And then you can actually download that template and others that could be valuable to your podcasting experience. I'll see you on the next episode.